Hey guys! Welcome to Couple. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. From one angle, it's been a comforting few weeks for those of us who fear and loathe the Trump presidency. Since early February, public support for the president and his party has declined significantly, erasing the polling gains that both had made at the start of this year. Meanwhile, Democrats have continued to overperform in special elections, scoring their most impressive victory yet last week, when Conor Lamb bested a better-funded Republican opponent in a Pennsylvania district that had gone for Trump by 20 points. Signs suggest that the GOP's House majority won't survive the winter and that our reality star-in-chief is unlikely to be brought back for a second season. For progressives, the case for optimism about Trump's tenure has always gone something like, if he doesn't get us all killed, the demagogue might just rejuvenate the Democratic base, poison the GOP's brand, trigger big blue wave elections in 2018 and 2020, and thus, ironically, leave U.S. politics in a better place than it had been in circa 2016. Over the past month, each piece of this scenario has begun to seem a tad more likely, except, that is, for the doesn't get us all killed bit. Of course, Donald Trump is, almost certainly, not going to literally end all human life. But in recent weeks, many of the downside risks of his election, a mass casualty war, irreparable diplomatic blunder, or constitutional crisis, have become more plausible than ever before. Assuming we avoid total catastrophe, America is poised to make a speedy recovery from its ill-advised experiment with kakistocracy. But there are, at least, 4 reasons why that assumption has never been less safe. 1. The adults in the West Wing have never had less influence over the president. The most harrowing development in presidential politics over the past month, the one that exacerbates all of the others, is that Donald Trump finally lost his humility. That may sound absurd, like saying Trump finally lost his tail, or some other appendage that the president was clearly born without, or else separated from in early childhood. But the reality is that, until recently, Trump approached his duties with a modicum of modesty. Awed by the awesome responsibilities of his new office, Trump spent much of last year deferring to the expertise of his advisors. He let the Republican establishment dictate his legislative agenda and most of his cabinet, and allowed the putative adults in the West Wing to overrule his instincts on the Iran deal, trade policy, and a variety of other matters. Of course, this forbearance was never strong enough to prevent the man from firing off incendiary tweets, praising white nationalists, canceling climate deals, or obstructing a little justice. But it was, nevertheless, sufficient to prevent Trump from translating his most belligerent rhetoric about foreign policy and the Mueller investigation into action. Now, however, Trump has finally shaken off his first-year jitters and is ready to appoint himself the adult in every room. As the New York Times reports, a dozen people close to Mr. Trump or the White House, including current and former aides and longtime friends, described him as newly emboldened to say what he really feels and to ignore the cautions of those around him. In his first year in the White House, according to his friends, he found himself feeling tentative and anxious, intimidated by the role of president, a fact that he never openly admitted but that they could sense, people close to the president said. They say Mr. Trump now feels he doesn't need the expertise of Mr. Kelly, Mr. Cohn, or Rex W. Tillerson, the former ExxonMobil executive he made Secretary of State. If he once suspected they were smarter or better equipped to lead the country and protect his presidency, he doesn't believe that now. The president's new mindset is readily apparent. Over the past 2 weeks, Trump has unilaterally announced steep tariffs on steel,